Hey guys, it's me, Kiana, and I'm coming to you with a video about another trait in autism, which is critical thinking. Now, I can only speak from my experience and from the experience of what I've been researching personally for self. I've been researching it for myself, and I want to share some of these things that I have observed since I've discovered that I'm on the spectrum. When I do talk to people who are on this spectrum, they have the ability to critically think. And what I mean by that is they have the ability to kind of flow and move through conversation and ideas without being so rigid. They tend to, I would say, it appears that they are more fluid, that they can bend a little bit in conversation, even if they grew up in a household where they believed one thing. If you give them another idea about something that they've never considered, they're more open-minded to hearing you out instead of shutting down. So the definition on the internet of critical thinking is the ability to effectively analyze information and then form a judgment. Like I've said in other videos, or just a few others since I've been talking about this, I just personally believe that people who are on the spectrum are always looked at as wrong, or, you know, you should just fit in, you should stop being so different, you should just try to go along with what everybody else is doing, right? But sometimes when everyone else is doing something and it's not working, it takes for somebody who is a critical thinker. I'm not saying they necessarily have to be on the spectrum, or critical thinking is only a characteristic of somebody who's on the spectrum. But being able to critically think and move in conversation and be willing to budge from a previous assumption or bias or you know, norm, it helps to be able to discover new ideas, just anything new, anything that people haven't really considered, which is the future. It's the wave, right? That's the direction that we're supposed to be going into as a human race. We're not supposed to stay stagnant. We're an evolving species, so we should be able to move with the times. You shouldn't be so rigid, right? Because even if you're just talking about you personally, yes, we get older, but newer people come into this planet. We birth kids, and then they have kids, and they have kids, and it's been this way since the beginning of time. And yes, we eventually die off, but those new kids are coming into a world where they're discovering things that may not have been the same as when we were growing up, right? But as the adults, to be able to contribute to what their findings are, we have to be able to be less rigid. We have to be able to be less, well, back in my day, we used to do it like this. And you know, I get that some things do need to be taught to the youth, and they do need to understand, you know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But when we're talking about evolution, it is super important to be a critical thinker and to think about what's best now and what's going on now, as opposed to how it was back in your day. For example, when you hear the conversation of a lot of younger people, myself included, I wouldn't say I'm young, I wouldn't say I'm old, but myself included, I say I'm a spiritual person. And when you talk to people who have been indoctrinated with religion, they say, well, you know, there's only one God, and you know, so they're not able to have conversations with those people that are spiritual. Now, I'm not here to say, look, I don't even know why I brought up that example, because don't nobody want to talk about religion with nobody. It's a touchy subject. People don't like to talk about it. I'm not here to tell anybody who to believe in or what to believe in. Believe in what you want to believe in. But I do think that it should be okay to have a conversation about something as important as religion and as important as God, without anyone shutting down, getting upset, crying, yelling, you know, just I guess, acting out based on what you were taught, because that's what it is. What people have to understand is that anything that you do, anything that you believe, anything that you consider to be the absolute truth was taught to you. Yes, in some ways, yeah, you go through life, you learn things, you pick up what you need to pick up, you leave what you need to leave. But if you lived on another side of the earth, your religion would be different. If you lived in a different family, your upbringing would be different. If your skin color was different, you would be a different person. If your gender was different, you would be a different person, right? And like I said, I use that example. I'm not here specifically talking about religion, but I'm using that example because it's so common. It's an area where people do not like to critically think. They do not want to consider anything other than what they've been indoctrinated with. And all I'm saying is we should be able to, no matter what the subject, we should be able to have conversations about the old and the new to discover what is true. Not true for everybody, not true for them, not true for you. I think the ability to critically think is freedom. I do. I think that if you have the ability to hear information for yourself, process it yourself, and come up with a conclusion that, or a judgment that you feel comfortable with based on what you've heard yourself, it would be so important and so beneficial to the evolution of the human race. Again, I'm not here to tell anybody what to do, but I would like to encourage people to think about everything that we use today. At some point, there was a point where people thought this was it. Are you crazy? You can't go this far. You can't make a wheel. You can't make a loaf of bread. You can't do anything. So it is important for us in our lifetime to understand that there were lifetimes before us and that there will be lifetimes after us. This is not the end all be all. So you have to have the ability to critically think. Yes, I'm sharing one of the traits of autism and telling you that it's the ability to critically think. And society says that we are the weirdos. We are the crazy people. But I find in my life that being able to critically think with all of the other hindrances with this disorder, being able to critically think has kept me safe in a lot of areas because I've weighed out everything that was presented to me and I was able to come up with a conclusion based on those. So that's all I wanted to say. The ability to critically think is something that it's a trait in autism that I am very grateful for. It saves me a lot of emotional breakdowns. And, you know, I get to understand a lot for self. Don't be under here commenting no crazy stuff about religion. I don't care. I was just using an example.